Most people make the mistakes of believing that Bitcoin is a true form of money. It is not. And it comes down to two things that we're going to break down on this video today. Make sure you listen all the way to the end because I'm going to give you a different perspective that you don't necessarily hear on the media, not even on crypto YouTube, but it's going to play a key factor to understand the future of Bitcoins and how to manage your cryptocurrencies in the coming years, because I see something happening right now in the world that's going to seriously affect Bitcoin specifically. Not many people will like what I have to hear, but in this channel, we keep it raw, we keep it real, and that's the deal. Let's get into it. If you're new here, my name is JC. I create content so that you can learn how to make, keep, and multiply money. True form of money. And this is why we have to bring Bitcoin to this conversation so that you can be aware of how it works and how it could affect you. First, you need to understand there is a difference between money, like gold, for example, and currency, right? Currency is a fiat currency like the US dollar, Canadian dollar, and so on. And for the most part, they have similar properties. For example, they are both durable, divisible, portable, and unit of account. Now, the difference between money and fiat is money is a store of value. It is designed to maintain its value over time, whereas fiat is designed to lose its value over time, right? That is why there is a clear difference between a money and fiat. But back in the days, you used to be able to redeem your fiat currency for money, and that's why we call it money. But now it is no longer the case. When you have fiat, you don't necessarily have money. But most people don't know that because they're not financially educated. Oh my God. So make sure you subscribe to this channel if you want to learn more tips like that. All right. Now, another key property that makes money real money is fungibility. Now, you probably heard the words non-fungible token, right? So what is fungible, right? What does it mean when a token is fungible or where anything is fungible? An asset is considered fungible when its units are interchangeable with one another, meaning they are indistinguishable, right? Very key word here, indistinguishable. We're gonna dive deeper into this word because this is the key right here. This is exactly what you needed to know and read that makes Bitcoins not a true form of money. Remember, money has to be all sorts of things like durable, divisible, portable, unit of account, but also fungible, right? Meaning also indistinguishable with another one. Now, let me give you an example of something that is happening right now that will make Bitcoin not indistinguishable. If you have been following the news, you've heard about Russia invading Ukraine, right? And now the entire world is sanctioning Russia financially, also limiting them with the bank accounts, with the central banks, also, right, with cryptocurrencies. We're going to get into that. But hey, Ukraine, for the most part, is the favorite of the NATO world, favor of the Western world, and they're kind of like supporting it morally at a distance, not with providing real guns and providing real help out there. They're not involving in this war because Putin made it clear that, hey, if the West gets involved, it's gonna start World War III. He made it clear, guys, right? So we're at the brink of World War III right now. And what happens usually in a war like this is there are alliances that are being made. Like you can hear right now, Russia and China and actually Iran, right? Saudi Arabia, possibly India at some point. They're all like teaming up with each other. And then on the Western world, you have NATO countries like US, Canada, and Germany, etc. Right? So these are alliances that usually happens within a World War III that is already forming itself. And when we are in war, guys, countries are making heavy sanctions on another. You already see what happened just with Russia alone with the rubles, right? Now, what if Russia actually invade Ukraine, right? Which, by the way, is not far-fetched. Russian troops are already in Kiev fighting with Ukrainian troops, and who knows, maybe in the next 2 weeks, we might have a news saying that, hey, Russia succeed acquiring the capital, and if they get the capital, it's game over, guys. At any point we might get the news that Ukraine which was once the favor of the Western world, might be controlled by Russia. It might be a Russian territory, meaning the sanctions that apply to Russia will be also applying to Ukraine territories. And let me go back to what I mentioned earlier, right? Ukraine's President Zelensky signs a virtual asset bill into law, legalizing cryptocurrencies. That includes Bitcoin, right? Ukraine has received over $100 million in crypto donations during the war with Russia. So obviously they want to make it legal so that they can accept all this money and use that money to fund whatever they need to fund, like help the population and all that, right? $100 million, that's a lot of money. So they want to make sure that they make it legalized, right? So now Bitcoin is going to be legalized in Ukraine. Russia already made signals last month that they were going to think about legalizing cryptocurrencies as well on their end. So Bitcoin is going to be legal tender in this Russia territory region, right? And remember the word, guys, indistinguishable. Now, what if I am in Canada, you are in the US, right? You want to buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, but the person who's going to sell you that Bitcoin might be in an area like Ukraine, might be in an area like Russia, and then the wallet is also assigned to that location, right? So the minute the transaction is made, at a centralized exchange, right, like Binance, like Coinbase, like Gemini, government can come up and say, hey, we're passing a new law, the US government, we're passing a new law saying that we are no longer allowed to swap cryptocurrencies with areas that we do not deal with, like Russia, like the new territory of Russia, Ukraine, right? So in that perspective, it is not indistinguishable between allied countries that minted a Bitcoin versus an enemy country that minted Bitcoin. Understand? Meaning centralized banks have the power to freeze your account and stop that transaction from happening. We've already seen this with MetaMask. MetaMask, who market themselves as the decentralized crypto platform of the web, is already banning accounts that comes from Iran. Now, you want to make sure you tune into my stream on Sunday. I'm going to be talking about what's happening with Iran and Saudi Arabia and why that could has major impact in our economy right now, especially with our cryptocurrencies, because hey, the US dollar is dying and it's dying fast. I'm going to be talking about that Sunday on my stream. Make sure you tune in and subscribe. But guys, this is why Bitcoin is not a true form of money, because it is not indistinguishable, right? It is not fungible. One Bitcoin is not necessarily equal to another Bitcoin. It is equal in terms of value, but because of its location that is tracked in a ledger, right? You know where it's coming from. Some banks may not want anything to do with the Bitcoins that are coming from Iran, Saudi Arabia, or Russia, or even Ukraine in the future. We don't know that. This is just one day away from passing a law. Next thing you know, your Bitcoin that you think you hold, maybe a quarter of your Bitcoins came from these countries, and then you can no longer exchange them. You can no longer convert them from fiat, right? Right now, we're not at the point yet where we can directly buy Bitcoins. You can directly go shopping with Bitcoin, right? It's not really intuitive. You can do it, but you have to go through some other means. But whoever is going to accept your Bitcoin needs to be sure the Bitcoin you're giving them, it's coming from a country that our government accepts, right? Because the other thing could happen too. Russia could ban any cryptocurrency that comes from the United States, and now you have like an economic war between countries on top of missile war, right? You need to understand things like this, and what is happening right now with Russia can escalate to this point where it affects even your holding. If you're holding strong in Bitcoin, you need to understand that it is not necessarily a true form of money because of the fungibility aspect, and location matters to government. They want to make sure they sanction their countries that they are at war with. And you've seen the example with MetaMask. The same thing can happen with all centralized exchanges that convert cryptocurrencies into fiat dollars. This is where they're going to get you, is the conversion with fiat currencies, and that's where they have the power. US is leading the way, but Canada is going to follow suit, and the Western world is going to follow right after that. I actually made an interview with a crypto developer. I actually had to pull it down of YouTube because there was so much game that he dropped. He was the one who brought this to my attention. I made more research about that. But if you want to know more about crypto privacy, cryptocurrencies, the back end, what exactly exchanges are doing and how they can stop and block your crypto accounts, make sure you sign up to my Patreon, because this is where I put that video. I cannot put it on YouTube because there's just too much. For his own good, I had to remove it off YouTube. But I have a 4-hour interview with this crypto developer. I put it on my Patreon, and there is so much knowledge that you can learn from this. Make sure you sign up to my Patreon if you really want to see it. With that said, guys, we'll see you on the next one.
Hey, yeah, it's all about wealth engineering. Might be something that you're not used to. It's okay, cause I'm here to introduce you to concepts. Time to grow and make big moves. All about crypto, come see. Stocks and business, yes indeed. Got the info that you need. Hosted by my homie JC.